The rest of the schedule is as follows. 2 years later, in the wake of what, at best, can be described as adverse conditions for growth, Bitadze will at long last be in uniform for the Pacers, along with a few other rim rollers, including two-way player Amida Brimah and rookie Isaiah Jackson, who is expected to play but can't be named on the roster until the trade that sent Aaron to Washington is made official. Meanwhile, given that the past iteration of the Summer League Pacers started exhibition play shooting 16 of 81 from 3 through the team's first 3 games, Chris Duarte won't have to clear a very high bar to impress in his rookie debut as both an on- and off-ball sharpshooter, at least by comparison. The same goes for Ochai Brissett, who after knocking down 41% of his catch-and-shoot threes as part of his late-season surge with the Pacers, is somewhat of a surprise inclusion, although his contract is non-guaranteed for next season, with Mike Weiner, who was offensive coordinator for Dallas this past season, taking over as coach. Exhibition play has the potential to offer an early first peek at how Rick Carlisle intends to shape the Pacers. That said, competing on rosters supplemented with mercenaries and fraught with unfamiliarity in an environment that has a tendency to breed bucket-getting, Summer League is more about trees gaining experience and working on individual skills than Forest's team concepts. With that in mind, let's pinpoint one area to watch for each of the players who project to be on the Pacers roster next season. For that reason, while criticism of the defense being overly aggressive was warranted, it's not as if the more conservative schemes, perhaps as a byproduct of trying everything and mastering nothing, were executed all that well by the end of season, either. To that point, maybe the plan was for the top tag defender on the two-man side to send help so Goga could stay home? In that case, though, Kalan Martin likely would have pounced on the drive to plug the gap instead of merely jabbing at the ball and releasing. That also wasn't what they were doing at any other point in the game. Bottom line, if the Pacers were going to drop when Towns was the screener, then Goga's first priority has to be to contain the ball before retreating to his man. Granted, Summer League isn't exactly a defensive showcase, and it remains to be seen what type of base scheme Rick Carlisle will deploy next season, but look to see if Bitadze demonstrates a firmer grasp on his responsibilities and where he should be positioned in these situations, as opposed to Goga, who whether in making mistakes or earning stops almost always stands out. 2020 second-round pick Cassius Stanley has a tendency to fade into the background. Of course, some of that is a product of sparse playing time and mostly being relegated to the corner as a fifth option in the absence of lob plays. Still, even when considering his underdeveloped handle, there were moments inside the G League bubble when, with increased opportunity, he was too deferential. Here, for example, not only does he pass out of a shot lifting up from the corner, but he also avoids the pull-up too after getting the ball back and aborting his dribble. Stanley didn't shoot the ball well with the Mad Ants, averaging 12 points while converting 41% of his shots overall and 26% of his threes, but he can't allow that to give way to spurts of passiveness, especially during exhibition play in Las Vegas. No longer dealing with the foot injury that held him out for a bit in the bubble, it would be better for the 21-year-old to miss some shots actively looking for his spots in the offense as opposed to merely blending in as there. What most often gets brought up with regard to Jackson is his athleticism and defensive impact, which is understandable given that he averaged 4.5 blocks per 36 minutes at Kentucky, while also showing flashes of isolation defense against wings. And yet, during the team's post-draft presser, Carlisle notably referenced the 19-year-old's feel as something that stood out during the pre-draft process, revealing that figures from Kentucky told the Pacers they would be surprised by this kid's feel and skill level. As a freshman, in recording 38 turnovers, many of which were of the moving pick and charge variety, to 18 assists, he didn't have much opportunity to demonstrate those aspects of his game in an offense with limited spacing, but his sense for finding the open man, particularly out of the short roll and short corner, might have a chance to lend some slack to the invisible string tethering him to catching lobs in the dunker's spot, at least when he manages to set fundamental screens. Of course, those progressions won't be applicable to Summer League but are certainly something to monitor in the long term for someone who tracks as a 4 and shot 7 of 21 on all field goal attempts classified as jump shots, per Instat. While discussing Chris Duarte's readiness to be an NBA defender, Carlisle mentioned that, with all of the switching that is done in the NBA now, with his size and combativeness on the floor, he'll be able to battle big guys on the inside when there are switches on rolls, in addition to guarding at various positions on the perimeter. That comment is interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, the way it is phrased seems to suggest that chasing over and switching, as the Pacers did at times throughout last season, is at least being considered as an option moving forward. Tactics aside, however, the consensus among armchair analysts seems to be that Duarte, 6'6", thrives more so as an off-ball defender, whether making use of his recovery skills or relying on instinct to know when to be aggressive, as opposed to defending up a position. Here, for example, he puts up little physical resistance veering into various rollers, with the exception of an impressive recovery block. Keep an eye on this while also watching how he fares rifling through his bag to rise up for shots against different types of coverages, including attacking hedges, switches, drop, and when opposing guards duck under. Quick recommendation to opposing guards: don't. On an unrelated note, when he's off ball, where can we petition to have this chin set that Dallas ran for Dwight Powell implemented at Summer League? The people deserve to have Duarte lifting from the corner, creating a single high side tag, as Jackson chases the cutter with a fake pin down to flow into a lob. Am I right? Too intricate, you say? The Pacers completed less than 10 lobs all of last season. Let us dream. And let Cassius be the initial threat slicing down the lane off the back pick. Brissett also needs to demonstrate more physical resistance against stronger frames. See Bagley. Marvin's going off for a season-high 31 points on May 5 against the Pacers, but the Canadian forward only attempted 2 mid-range shots and 1 unassisted 3 for the season. Overall, 60% of his field goal attempts were either catch-and-shoot threes or off-cuts, which speaks well of his shot selection but also poses questions about what happens when he starts to face more aggressive closeouts. To that point, none of his threes were tightly contested last season, and his conversion rate dropped from 45% when wide open 24 of 53 to 36% 9 of 25 when merely open. If he continues to hit from distance as a more regular part of the rotation and eventually gets leveraged into putting the ball on the floor, he's going to need to get better at turning the corner and adjusting his body in the air. For the season, he went 4 of 19 21% on drives, a mark which was comparable to his 4 of 28 conversion and volume rates on driving layups in 12 games with the Mad Ants. Benny Boatwright, a 6'10" forward who went undrafted in 2019 and couldn't play as a rookie for the Memphis Hustle due to a knee injury, averaged over 18 points and shot 43% from 3 on almost 7 attempts per game in his final season at USC. From blocking shots and taking charges to highlight dunks and rebounding, Devin Robinson did a little bit of everything for the Mad Ants in the bubble. It doesn't all show up in the box score, but he changed some games with his energy. Most recently, the 26-year-old forward, who previously spent 2 seasons with the Washington Wizards on 2-way contract, played for the Abilene Drive in the basketball tournament. B.J. Johnson, who spent last season with the Long Island Nets, the G League franchise previously coached by Pacers assistant Ronald Nord, has ranked in the top 25 of G League scorers in each of the last 2 seasons, averaging 22.9 points in 2019-20 while shooting 42% from 3. Overall, between the Hawks, Kings, and Magic, the 6'7" forward has appeared in 7 NBA games and 67 in the G League.